chaos in Turkey.
And we are coming on the air with breaking news: an apparent military coup.
Militares turcos afirman
multiple breaking stories right now. A military coup is underway in Turkey.
Vamos ahora a cambiar de tema para hablar de Turquía.
There is now a coup in Turkey.
The coup in Turkey was arguably the most impactful event that happened worldwide during the summer of 2016. Millions of people from around the world tuned in to watch and listen to what was happening in Turkey, the wildcard of the Middle East. Hundreds died, with thousands wounded. Many people in and outside of Turkey were hoping for a successful coup, while others wanted it to fail. No one, not even the president, was expecting such big of an outlash, as the president was away at the time and had to use FaceTime to communicate with the media. But what factors made the coup develop like it did? How did no one see it coming, and what could this mean for future world affairs?
Joy and jubilation on the streets of Ankara as supporters of Recep Tayyip Erdogan celebrated his victory as Turkey's first ever directly elected president. They were ecstatic as they gathered outside his party's headquarters to hear the man that so many of them idolize. But unlike his often fiery statements,
when Erdogan became the first directly elected president in Turkish history, everyone was thinking this was a good thing. After all, it is a democracy. But Erdogan had different ideas. President Erdogan restricted human rights, such as lessening the power of the 1991 anti-terror law, which states the punishments and parameters of the crime terrorism. He also denied the recognition of LGBT rights, and some of his cabinet members outright insulted members of the LGBT community. Reporters Without Borders reported a continuous decrease in freedom of the press during Erdogan's later terms. In January of 2016, more than 1,000 academics signed a petition criticizing Turkey's military crackdown on ethnic Kurdish towns.
Spilled into mass riots on the streets of Istanbul and in the southeast of the country. People have been protesting over the deadly military operation by government forces against the so-called Kurdish militants. And police were deployed to break up the angry crowds.
Not only did he create rifts in the justice system by wanting to appoint his own supporters to be able to pass laws with more ease, but Erdogan could not spend money wisely, as he has also received criticism for the construction of a new palace called Aksaray. Since the land it was built on is protected land and cannot be used, several court orders were issued to halt the construction of the new palace. However, work went on. Erdogan has also been accused of being an indirect supporter of anti-Semitism, and was even placed second on the Simon Wiesenthal Center's list, which stated the year's top 10 most anti-Semitic personalities.
Increasingly difficult to reconcile both a Jewish and a Turkish identity due to Turkey's increasing perception of anti-Semitism. Turkish Prime Minister Erdogan and other leaders of the Turkish government have made strong remarks against Jews.
As you can see, the military had a reason for wanting to restore a legitimate democracy in Turkey. They were standing up against what they thought was unjust, and roughly 12 years of having Erdogan as their prime minister and another 2 as the president, people were fed up with being oppressed, and seeing the country they protected with their own lives fall to such waste, they decided to stage the coup. The fighting during the coup was brutal. Many would say that the government used excessive force on passive protesters, going as far to bomb them. A quote from a survivor of an air raid during a peaceful protest says, "The jets came in low, screeching over Istanbul's Taksim Square. Then there was a sound of a blast. The protesters scattered, and the sound of gunfire rattled through the air." The pro-coup soldiers began with taking military leadership hostage, which allowed them to briefly control branches of the military. They were also able to damage the Turkish parliament building and the presidential palace. What they had hardship with was the number of troops still loyal to Erdogan. 97% of the troops in the military stayed loyal, and around 66% of leadership roles in the military stayed loyal as well. As the coup began to die down, Erdogan was steadfast in pointing fingers at who to blame for this military coup d'etat. Erdogan forced blame on a highly revered religious figure of Islam in Turkey, Fethullah Gulen. Since Gulen has been living in a compound in Pennsylvania for the past 13 years, Erdogan demanded that Obama send Gulen back to Turkey to face the crimes that he had committed. Gulen has declared that he had no involvement with the coup, as he is a non-denominational Muslim, which believes in a more peaceful way for change to occur, although he did want the Turkish president to be overthrown.
What is your response?
İmkan varsa bu meseleyi arka planıyla görmek için uluslararası...
Let an international organization investigate this matter in depth. If there is anything I told anyone about this verbally, if there is any phone conversation, if 1/10 of this accusation is correct in fact, I will bend my neck and will say they are telling the truth, let them take me away, let them hang me.
Now to the matter of Mr. Gulen, who lives in Pennsylvania in my country. What happened between you and him?
Tabii ben başbakan olduktan sonra kendisiyle hemen hemen
After I became Prime Minister, I have not had any meetings with him other than a few phone conversations. I used to have meetings with him when I was mayor of Istanbul. And during my tenure as Prime Minister, we had good relations with this group for the first 2 terms.
The coup lasted 1 day and 1 night from July 15th to July 16th of 2016. The coup did not change who was in power, and ultimately Erdogan used it as a chance to purge the government and imprison thousands of soldiers. The coup did little more than backfire on the people enacting the coup, and served as a red flag of things to come. On December 19th, 2016, Russian ambassador to Turkey, Andrei Karlov, was assassinated at an art gallery in the capital city of Turkey, Ankara. Ambassador Karlov was responding to the Turkish public on alleged human rights violations committed by Russia in Aleppo, Syria. The assassin was posing as a bodyguard and can be seen in the live stream video standing right behind the ambassador. The assassin then fired 9 shots in the ambassador's back and started screaming Allah Akbar and do not forget Aleppo. The assassin was later identified as Melvit Mert Altintas. The death of Ambassador Karlov does more than impact Russia's foreign affairs. It impacts the world. Since Ambassador Karlov was in Turkey trying to resolve backlash from actions taken by Russia in Aleppo, Syria, it has made an already raging fire bigger. The result of the assassination has made Russia and Turkey unite in saying that the assassination of Karlov is, quote, an attack on Turkey, the Turkish state, and the Turkish people.
As well as undermining the peace process in Syria promoted by Russia, Turkey, Iran, and other countries interested in settling this conflict in Syria. The only response we should offer to this murder is stepping up our fight against terror, and the criminals will feel the heat. The Russian investigative committee has already launched an investigation into this killing. It's been tasked with forming a working group.
This puts the U.S. in a tough spot because the U.S. has just imposed new sanctions on Russia, and Turkey has always been viewed as a crucial ally to the U.S. These international affairs, considering how much of an important wildcard Turkey is for the Middle East and Russia's ongoing armed conflict in Ukraine, seems very frightening.